It is the ugly side of the beautiful game. This is what officers face in football matches every
Football isn't just a game, it's much more important than that. It's our life, it's our feelings, it's our passion. It dictates our mood. We love football, we live it, we breathe it, we eat it. Football is everything. It's football heritage. The pre-game nerves, the nail-biting moments, nothing beats a derby day.
We're still fighting for this title, and he's got to go to Middlesbrough and get something. And I'll tell you, honestly, I will love it if we beat them. Love it.
As far as Southgate! In contrast to the tone of much Shearer, who hits it! And scores!
The time for Manchester United with Beckham!
Fancies his chances. Oh, brilliant goal! A brilliant goal!
Losing is no option.
Where they play, how they play, if they play. That's football heritage.
Yes, good evening and welcome to episode 1 of Rivals React on Football Heritage. Big up, we love an intro video on this channel and we also like a new panel show. This one's going to be here to stay, and thank you very much to everyone who's joined us in the chat for this one. Today we have got Tom Little representing Liverpool Football Club. Big up, Tom. How are you and your sexy haircut doing?
It's been a topic backstage, people. It's been a topic backstage right here. Cause I'm good, mate. I'm good. Nothing to complain about. Liverpool are in a better state than last year when we first met, so a lot happier.
Yes. Yeah. You wanted Klopp out at that time, so we'll revisit that. Don't worry about that. We'll revisit it. We've got Pete from Loaded Mag NUFC in the house representing. He's been telling us an injury-ravaged Newcastle. How are you, mate?
Not too bad. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm very happy about this international break. I think everyone who connected with Newcastle needs a rest.
Yeah, me too. We needed an international break. Big up. We've got Goonie. Goonie's getting all brave the last week or so. Chelsea have managed to score 8 goals in 2 games, and he started putting me in my place a little bit as a Spurs fan. How are you, mate?
I'm all good, man. I'm all good. I've definitely been talking that talk the past couple of days. But, bruv, listen, I've had nothing to talk about for like 18 months or so, man. Let me live. You get me?
And just because we know how fragile this Chelsea lot are, we got 2 Chelsea on. Charlie, Blue Brother, CFC. How are you, mate? Long time no speak.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Pleasure to be on as always, Savva. Yeah, as Goonie was saying, 8 goals in a week, a couple of good results. Yeah, we got to shout about it. We got to enjoy it. So yeah, it looks like we might be slowly on the upward curve, mate. So yeah, feeling good.
They're winning the league, and Perchy's going to be here representing title winners for 23-24 Tottenham Hotspur. Perchy,
November title winners.
Yeah, that's the best title to win, isn't it?
Yeah.
The August, September, October, November title.
Yeah.
How are you, mate? You good?
Yeah, good. Thanks very much, mate. Excited for this.
Yeah, good. Let's get straight into it. For anyone that's new around here, obviously a new show, but most people might be Spurs fans to begin with. We'll get there. But this is where we're going to talk about all of the games that have happened, the games coming up, who's going to win the league, who's not, who's getting relegated, who hates their manager, who wants to get them sacked, and we'll take it from there. I want to start with, I think we probably should start with Chelsea. Chelsea, as all the kids say, I'm not cool enough to say this. I'm going to try and pull it off. They deserve their flowers. This is the thing I think people have been saying. Not really me, but Chelsea have gone from a team that can't score a goal to a team that have scored 8 goals in 2 games. In both games, let's be brutally honest, they could have got a lot more than the 4 goals they got as well. Goonie, I'll start with you. Is it fair to say, are Chelsea just starting to find a little bit of a pattern under Pochettino now? Are you actually starting to see the fruits of giving a manager longer than the 6 games you normally give them? And you're actually settling into what looks like a decent football team right now?
First of all, I must address, I shall accept flowers from no man, okay? I will accept a pint from you or something like that. That is cool. Now that we got that one out of the way.
Superb.
Well, no, I mean, honestly, against you guys, obviously we scored our 4 goals, but I've said on several streams before that wasn't really a accurate measure of, you know, improvement for me since we got the 2-man advantage. So I was saying all that week, you know, if anything, we have to prove, if we're going to really prove ourselves, some kind of result against obviously treble winners Manchester City is the better way to indicate that. And what I saw in that game, I saw resilience. I saw fearlessness. I saw everything that I wanted to see in that game. Some of the goals could have been avoided, but it's like everyone's saying, like, we're not at that perfect finish stage just yet. So to draw with the champions, especially in that manner, was definitely impressive for me. So for me, that's the first indication that we're definitely taking a huge step in the right direction, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, I know your opinion from what we were talking about backstage, but I'm really starting to like Chelsea's midfield 3. I don't even think Enzo's in top form, but it looks like you've got a good blend there of the kind of quarterback type player, the hard-working ball-winning player, and then Gallagher, who does a bit of everything. It looks like it's a really nice place for you guys.
Yeah, look, I think it's a good balance. Obviously, Enzo and Caicedo, they're both 22 years of age. They're still relatively inexperienced in terms of amount of games played. Yes, you know, Enzo's a World Cup winner and that, but in terms of experience at the top level, these guys have still got, you know, not played that many games. So they've got a lot of room for improvement. And look, I think they're going to be, those 2 lads are going to be 2 of our most important signings we'll make in the new Chelsea per se. That midfield is sorted out. Now, you've got a bit of everything in there. The only thing that is missing, and I do feel that we do need to add a little bit of it, there's no goals in that midfield. Gallagher, for as well as he's done, and he's been great this season, but the one thing he was known for when he was on loan at Palace and stuff was scoring goals and an eye for goal. Like, he's improved loads of facets of his game this season, but the one thing that's then disappeared is his goal scoring threat. So if he maybe find that again, yes, you know, he takes the shot on Sunday and it's palmed out by Edison. Obviously, you get the goal for Jackson from the rebound. But if he just maybe shot a bit more when he was in decent positions, I just feel I like the midfield a lot. I think Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo are superb, but I feel that we probably just need to add a few goals from that midfield, because right now you look at the midfield and you think, right, realistically, we're relying on the front 3 to score pretty much all the goals, because the midfield 3 aren't really contributing any goals. But in terms of the balance, mate, I think the balance is good. I've seen Enzo come in for a little bit of stick, and I just think it's a little bit harsh in my opinion, because look, I think against Tottenham he come off because there was a slight issue with his ankle. He just took a precaution, come off. I think he's looked tired since the last international break. He's had I don't want to make excuses. He's had another child, probably not optimal for his, you know, training and all that sort of thing, sleeping and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, he is good. And I think the problem is, because people expect like sort of 9 or 10 out of 10 performances, when he does a 7 out of 10, it's like he's called not good enough. And that's where I'm at. You look at his, I know stats can be misleading in that, but you look at his stats, and you know, in all the metrics you'd want to go by, you would have he's like in the top 3 for like passing metrics, long passes, passes into the final third. I didn't realise I'd hit such a nerve. By the way, I was getting that information about Enzo Fernandez from Goonie from what he said the other day on Saeed Show. Just saying. But listen, just quickly, Pete, they're coming up close behind you now. They're 4 points behind you. Chelsea are they? I don't want to say are they back. Are they a team now that people should be looking at and worried about playing? Is it too soon? They've got 1 defeat in 8.
starting to score goals again. Are you worried as a Newcastle fan that they could come and take your position?
Not worried as such, because it's a long season and we've already seen that not just Chelsea, so many teams have had up and down moments. So I'm not overly worried over the course of the season. I think there's a high chance that we could be in and around each other. We could both be in the positions that we want to be by the end of the season. So I'm not worried about them as an individual, but they've got confidence at the moment, and rightly so. They've picked up some good results. Confidence is flying high. You know, I've been on with Charlie before, and it's been very much down in the dumps when talking about Chelsea. But now you're talking confidently, and rightly so, because some of your players are really starting to turn up. You know, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but Raheem Sterling is one of them. He's really starting to turn the screw a little bit, but I'm sure we'll touch on it as well. But they come to St James's Park next, which makes it a really, really interesting. Really interesting time for Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea's next few games, you got us at St James's Park, you're at home to Brighton, and I think you're away at Man United at Old Trafford. So they're all teams that are in and around that mix, in and around sort of that top 9 in the table. And so this is a really important, although that result was great against Man City, these next 3 are really crucial to where you could go, because you could win them and you could be flying high, and people are talking about Chelsea maybe even pushing for Champions League. But if they don't win those 3 and they drop a number of points, it might be back to the conversation we had before the Tottenham game. So it could go either way. So it's an interesting one to see how Chelsea sort of manage this now. You've had the break. Is the break potentially a good thing for you, or maybe a bad thing for you? I don't know. But it's going to be interesting to watch Chelsea, see how they get on.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, I just put up there, are Chelsea better than their league position suggests? Because whenever I watch Chelsea, I never watch and think that I'm watching a really bad team. I see that they've made mistakes and they've struggled to score goals, and I don't ever watch them and think that they're really poor. Are they better than their league table, than the league table suggests? And the league table suggests at the moment, by the way, that they're 10th. Should they be higher up than that?
Yeah, they're better than 10th in the league, 100%. They're better than 10th in the league, but I do still have some questions about Chelsea as a whole. For once, it's not even an attack. I question the defensive solidity that they've got as a whole, because whilst I think that Reece James, good defender, not always fit, and I think Malo Gusto was a step down. Left back wise, Cucurella's in good form, but is that a blip? Not a blip, but is that just like a flash in the pan? Or can he actually make this a very consistent thing? Thiago Silva, there's going to come a point where you're going to have to move away from him. Sati's been all right.
Yeah.
The big question is the goalkeeper, Robert Sanchez. I thought with the amount of money spent in the summer to settle for Brighton's second choice wasn't really... The third choice, sorry. Because they had someone else above him. He's not even the best. Like, you should have done so much better there. I think money that was spent elsewhere could have been better spent in goal, because you look at all the other top sides, all the other sides that do well, they have a top goalkeeper in between the sticks, and it's the most important position. And so far this season, Robert Sanchez has cost you points more than saved you points, if you're looking at it in the grand scheme of things. I mean, we're talking about how they've had 2 good results against Arsenal and against Man City and against Tottenham. The Arsenal one should have been so much better than it was, but Robert Sanchez had moments where you just couldn't trust him. I think the City game, you could argue that there's a couple of those ones Robert Sanchez could have done a little bit better with. The Tottenham one's a Tottenham one, like that is what it is. But a lot of games this season, I've looked at Robert Sanchez and there's a lot more to be desired. And you'll address it next summer, I'm sure. But this season, in a league that's as tight as it looks like it's going to be, I think Robert Sanchez could end up costing them what they could ultimately have achieved, because I think other sides have got better goalkeepers.
Chelsea fans, is Robert Sanchez the issue? Has he been costing you more than he's been saving you?
Let Charlie go first. Go ahead.
I don't know. Look, I'll be honest. I think Goonie probably feels the same as me. Like in the summer, we thought like if Kepa was going to go, like obviously we got a bit of a stroke of luck, Courtois getting the ACL, which was Kepa's route out of Chelsea or whatever. But look, I think for me, if we were going to upgrade the keeper, it had to be like a significant upgrade. And look at Sanchez. He's got some good qualities, 100%. But he's not what I would classify like a major upgrade on what we already had. And like, that's what you need to do when you look at competing with the top clubs, you know, Liverpool, Man City, the goalkeepers they've got. I mean, even Newcastle got a pretty decent keeper in Nick Pope as well. Like, you look at the keepers around in the top sides and the ones you're competing with, and you think, is Robert Sanchez going to be a Premier League winning goalkeeper? Look, I could be wrong, and he could turn out to potentially be one. But at the same time, I think the jury's still out. I think he's got a lot more to prove. Like, I think he's had some good moments in a Chelsea shirt so far, but then like, there's also been some poor ones, and I still get very nervous when he's on the ball at the back. I think his decision making needs to improve as well. But look, for me, it's too early to write him off, because I think, you know, players always deserve at least a season, and I think he's had more good moments in a Chelsea shirt than bad. But it's just the bad ones have been quite significantly costly in terms of the Arsenal, where we should have got 3 points from that game easily. Look, in fairness to him, he made a great save from Erling Haaland, which kept us in the game on Sunday. I mean, I remember at Bournemouth earlier in the season, I think he was man of the match. Maybe it says more about our performance than in general as a team. But look, I do agree. I don't think I'm unconvinced that he's a goalkeeper that's going to lead you to the big trophies. But I actually think on the whole this season, yes, he's made mistakes, but I actually think he's been okay.
Cooney, you agree?
I'll be real with you. I just don't think he's Chelsea standard, to tell you the truth. And the way I'm perceiving this situation is that he's going to be here for this season. But anything further than that, him being our first choice keeper, I highly, highly doubt it. I mean, my stance with Chelsea is, well, in fact, my stance with goalkeeping positions. Whoops, my hat just popped open. My stance with Chelsea goalkeepers is you don't ever compromise that position. Every single top team that has done well has always had a top level goalkeeper, and it's no different with Chelsea. You go back to
Vicario.
Well, he's a lot better than I won't lie, he's a good goalkeeper.
Yeah,
but
he is, yeah.
When you look at our most successful periods at football, look who we had in goal. Peter Cech, Courtois. What was people saying about them goalkeepers? You couldn't name too many goalkeepers that were better than them goalkeepers. The same principle applies. With Sanchez, my thing is, if I can name 10 goalkeepers that are better than you, you should not be in between the sticks for Chelsea. Now, that's not to say that this is all solely on Sanchez, because when you look at the team as a whole, there's only been 1 or 2 outstanding performers. We haven't had everybody perform to their best on a consistent basis. So I'm not going to lay all the blame on him completely. But in terms of him individually, nope, I don't think he's good enough for Chelsea long term. 100% not.
Listen, before we move on from Chelsea, just really quickly, Perchy, we did a video the other day about Tottenham being 10 points clear of Chelsea at the moment.
Yep.
But both of us, I think, sort of agreed that come the end of the season, don't think that lead is going to be like that. And quite possibly Chelsea were going to catch us up. Do you still feel that way 2 days later? I mean, what are you thinking of Chelsea in terms of in terms of Spurs in the league?
I mean, you've been polite. I mean, I said that Chelsea will only be 4 points behind us by January. I genuinely think Chelsea have got an all right run now. I think they're going to be good. The difference is what's happening now. Let's put it into context, right? We've got a lot of players out injured now, and Chelsea's main players are now starting to come back from injury. They're starting to get rid of that horrible 12-player out injury scenario where players are coming back into fruition. I agree with that midfield 3 in Enzo, Caicedo, Gallagher. Get that 3 playing week in, week out. You're going to start seeing a better Chelsea. That's your engine room, that midfield. And I like Sterling. I think Mudrik's another one. I think everybody got a lot of stick, Mudrik, but I think he's one of those players that needs a bit of time and a bit of like TLC behind him, where you can go on, give him a run of games, and you'll see the fruits of your labour from that. But with us at the moment, listen, we put us into the conversation about being behind us. I think Chelsea, Spurs, Newcastle, I think all of these teams, Aston Villa, are all going to be there or thereabouts near the end of it. You're going to see ups and downs on all 3 of those sort of teams. I think the other 3 in Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal are going to be in a different group than the other 3, right?
Well, that leads me on. That leads me on very, very nicely. So the next topic I had was this, right? So I was going to ask this question and say, can anyone beat City to the title? Now, before I could even do that, I saw that Mo is in the background, and I saw that Mo has said this. Tom, tell these guys why Liverpool win the league. They think Man City have already won it. Now, what he's talking, I'll start with you, Tom. What he's talking about here is I've gone on many a show and gone, I don't think anyone else is in contention to win this Premier League. This will be Man City's again. I think they're going to win it by 8 to 10 points. They're that good. Mo is telling me, but other teams can win it. You're a Liverpool fan. You're second. You've got goal scoring machines like Darwin Núñez up front and world-class centre-halves. Why aren't you winning the league? Or do you think Mo is right? Can Liverpool win the league? Anyone else?
We can win the league. 100% we can win the league, but I don't have us down as favourites. I mean, I've got us down as the third best team in the league behind City and Arsenal. But I have always said that should City, for any reason, open the door and, not perform or for any reason, just drop points enough for someone to jump them, I'd back us to do it this season because I think we've got the one thing that everyone wants, which is an attack that can bail you out of games. The reason why I don't think we're there is because we don't have the midfield that can win you a title yet. We've got players who can be part of it, but there's one key position that is severely lacking at the minute, and that is a defensive midfielder. And I like Alexis McAllister. I think he's a fantastic footballer. He's not a DM.
Yeah.
So at this present moment in time, our best DM is out injured, and he's 19. And that's Stefan Bajcetic, and he barely classes a DM. You could also argue that you could do with another centre-back because you've got Robertson there, but he's now injured for a couple of months. Now we're playing Simicast there, who I'm very notorious for not liking. I don't think he's a very good footballer. And then if you don't play him, you're now inverting Joe Gomez, who, there's a couple of positions that you lack, but what we do have is world-class players in a number of positions and experience. I think we are the second most experienced side in this league in terms of getting the job done and winning the big trophies. So don't have us as the favourites. Should City perform to how City perform, we're not there. We'll be too busy focusing on other things, unfortunately. But should the door open up and should the points total be reachable, I think I'd back us to do it because I think when you consider the attack that we've got and the fact that Van Dijk is now performing at a level close to what we expect of him, if not what we expect of him, we can get ourselves through 80-90% of games just with that. It's the other 10% where we're going to need fantastic team performances to get us through. And we've had one or two of them already this season, but are we going to get it in the big moments? I mean, when we come back, we've got the biggest test of the season away at the Etihad at 12:30, which I could moan about, but I'm not going to.
No, go on, moan.
That's the big one.
No, we want to hear you moan about it. Why are you moaning about the time?
It's just the fact that, we've got a lot of South American players who get back on the Thursday. We play on the Saturday at the earliest possible opportunity. It is the 14th time in 8 years we're at 12:30. The next most is your lot with 6. We played over double the amount at 12:30, and we're crap at 12:30, which is another reason I hate playing at 12:30.
That's the reason why you're annoyed.
Hang on. So it's nothing to do with the fact that you're laying the groundwork here for when Man City wipe the floor with you. Is that not what you're doing?
I mean, logic would dictate they will do, considering the last time we played them at 12:30 was their ground last season, and they beat us 4-1. So they might well do, and I might be getting my excuses out there already.
Pete, let me come to you. I'm notorious for saying, listen, I literally look at this league every year and go, no one's winning it other than City. They're just too good. And they're top of the league and haven't even got into second gear, really. They always do after January. Do you see anyone else winning the league other than Man City? Can Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs, can anyone else win that title? Not can they, will they?
Will they? No. And it's frustrating to say that because you want it, now we're up there. You want to be able to see that there's light at the end of the tunnel. If you're fighting at the top end of the table, top 6, top 7, you want to know that there's a chance that you can win the league. But it just seems at the moment that it's just like a bit of a closed shop. That second half of the season, Man City are going to turn the screw like they've done for so many years now, and then just kind of pull away. So everyone's kind of clawing to stay as close to them as possible to hope that they can be with a shout. But if there's anyone else outside of them, like Liverpool have proven it, the only team to prove it in the last 7 years, because they've gone on and won it before.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that kind of set that standard. They're the ones that can, dethrone Man City in their dominance at this moment in time. Arsenal came very, very close and then just fell at the last hurdle. But Liverpool, for me, are the ones that I'm looking at. And I wasn't looking at them earlier on in the season. I've got to be honest. They didn't seem to me a team that would be able to maintain that. But the way they're playing and the results they're picking up, they are playing good football. They're dispatching teams quite comfortably at times. In particular, the teams that you'd expect. And they're sometimes the ones that you slip up against. I know we've talked about Luton, but I think everyone's had their little blip at some point this season. So I don't hold that too high. I think that can happen. But I just think, I just think with the way things are going now, it wouldn't surprise me if we get to sort of Christmas time, end of the year, and there is a little bit of a gap between Man City and Liverpool and the rest. I do genuinely think that. But going back to the original point, it looks like it's going to be a first time ever 4 in the row in the Premier League, which has never been done before in the Premier League. And to be fair, it would be befitting of a team like Man City to do it, because for me, other than the Man United 2008-2009, where they had the Tevez, Ronaldo, Rooney, Berbatov, like I haven't seen another team as good as them until this Man City team, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Perchy, 12 games gone. Spurs are 2 points behind. Liverpool and Arsenal 1 point behind. Aston Villa only 3 points behind. Why am I so positive Man City are winning this league? Am I being knee-jerk?
No, I was big up Mo, by the way, because I was on his channel and he tried to convince me that Liverpool or Arsenal are going to do it. And I love Mo. Mo's an absolute legend. Go over and subscribe to him. But it was brilliant because I went, but what do Man City do post January?
Win 10
They go and win 10 games in a row when everyone else maybe draw or slip up, and then they finish with 90 plus points, and then we all go, well, they've done exactly the same. We had this exact same position last year. Everyone's going, they've fallen off because they lost a couple of games or drawn a few games. And then what do? When it gets to the business end of it, Man City do it time after time, go win, and then they go and win the title. And then Arsenal was a great example here. It was Arsenal had 3 games of football where they lost the league title. You could argue them losing it against Man City. Not really. They lost it because they threw away points against West Ham, Liverpool when they were 2-0 up, and Southampton. And just like that, Man City go win, and then they win the title. That's the difference, right? And I've always said this, like when Man City are playing, draws are more equivalent to losing games, right? When you play Man City Tom will know this. They've been in title races with Man City. When you draw games of football, it is like losing a game because they go and win and it's 2 points, not 3 points. Gap increase, right? And that's the problem because Man City are just phenomenal in just winning games of football. I mean, the stat you put up in the other day, where how many times did Man City conceded more than 2 goals in a game in the last calendar year? And we worked out to 3 times. I mean, it says it all, right?
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, you were going to jump in with something there.
I was just going to say, mate, they've still got, look, Liverpool, I think, have got a phenomenal attacking power. We know that. You just look at what every good team that wins the Premier League has got. It's a top-class number 6. And I think that, for me, is probably why Liverpool will fall a little bit short. I think they've got the players to do it. Defensively, I still think they could do another centre-back. Matip's not as good as he used to be. Obviously, Van Dijk is finding a little bit of form again. I don't think Tsimikas is necessarily good enough cover for Robertson. I think they're short in a few areas. I think they can go very close. I tipped them to come second at the start of the season, but I just think that lack of a number 6, not really replacing Fabinho properly, is probably where they're gonna fall short. But in terms of City, as Perchy was saying, no other team can just turn up in the new year and just bang out 10 wins on the spin. Not to mention they've got Kevin De Bruyne to integrate back into that team as well. So, I'm not saying it's going to be an absolute walk for them, but for those reasons, I just don't see how another team wins. I don't think Arsenal have got a good enough squad in terms of depth. I also don't think they've got the right mentality for it. And the reasons I said about Liverpool, a lack of a real number 6 and maybe a few defensive frailties is why I think they'll just come up short. So it will be City. And it's up to the others to get better and get up to their level.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, Goonie, the last thing on City possibly winning the league or probably winning the league, is that the disappointment for you that, you know, you've got the likes of Liverpool and I suppose Arsenal from last year that had the opportunities to really close the gap, but then we're still sitting here for both those clubs going, yeah, but we didn't buy a insert player, DM. Arsenal, we didn't buy a centre forward. Is that the disappointment from those clubs' point of view that they could close the gap, but they haven't really?
Well, yeah, you've only got to look at their recruitment teams and some of the managerial decisions as to why they're not able to close that gap, or in Arsenal's case, not maintain beyond 93% of the season. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, the warning signs were always there, you know, and if you don't, you can see in this league when you've got a team as efficient as Manchester City, because this is the thing with Man City, they've got to a point where their recruitment is so good that they bring in players, right, that they don't necessarily need right away. Like, for example, Rodri is the one that I can think of. When they signed him, he never walked straight into the team. He still had a season or two to get ready to prepare to step into that team, and that's exactly what they did. That's called efficient recruitment. When you're at a stage where your first team is already covered, but you can foresee the players in a season or two that are about to, you know, get to their best or get beyond their best, and you've already replaced them. That's top level recruitment. Teams like Arsenal, Liverpool, and all that, you know, no offense with Liverpool, they're getting beaten in the transfer market by teams like such as ourselves. Arsenal as well, they're not moving for players that they're supposed to be moving for. So really the recruitment teams have got to look at themselves. And while this happens, Manchester City are just going to keep on motoring and motoring and motoring. Because not only on the pitch have they got it right, not only on the touchline have they got it right, their backroom staff is almost perfect. You know, the director of football that they've hired in Mr. Begiristan, I'm not going to try his first name because I'm just going to absolutely flew with that. Do you know what I mean? They've already had an established relationship over in Barcelona, and the Manchester City hierarchy, they said, listen, man, he's worked very well with him over at Barcelona. We're going to bring him over here to Manchester City so they can continue that relationship. So they've got it right in every single aspect.
Goonie,
yeah, absolutely. Sorry, go on, Perchy.
No, I was just going to say, you're right. And it was exactly it. Remember when they signed Jack Grealish? And for 12 months, everyone's going, oh, waste of money, waste of money. This guy's not good enough, waste of £100 million. And then 12 months later, we go, this is the player. This is about exactly. This is the player. And now you look at him. You could use the same with Julian Alvarez. Brought him in from Argentina, wasn't immediately in the team. Now look at him. He plays consistently now, right? So, Matt, you're right in what you say.
Just quickly, anyone can take this before we move on. Mo, I'm going to show you two comments. So first of all, Mo has said, can we please ask the panel? And I saw Mo having this chat the other day with people about Arsenal winning the league. Why are there more voices ruling out Arsenal? And then off the back of that, Mr. Post Office has got a little bit, I think a little bit touchy about his own club here and said, Arsenal don't have the squad for it, are a point behind City with 4 to 5 first teams out most of the season. Arsenal don't have the mentality. Why did they buy Rice? Anyone could take this, but all I'm going to quickly say, I didn't want to chuck too much of my opinion in the show, is we had this conversation with Arsenal fans last year that it's not about 12 games. It's about doing it over the season. And last year you showed you couldn't. And this season, I don't think you've strengthened significant to show that you can.
That's what I was going to say, Savva. Like, look, I think Arsenal have done very well last year that they blew it. But what I look at with Arsenal, right, is one, mentality. And last season did nothing to shake off that weak bottle job mentality that's plagued them for years and years. They threw that away. They should have won that league quite straightforward, and they didn't. Secondly, I look at them and I think, right, the first 11's good. They made some good signings in the summer. Declan Rice, fantastic signing. Obviously, it's a big blow that Jurrien Timber's out for the season. He would have made a difference. Kai Havertz, the less said about that, the better. I just didn't get that signing at all. I'm thankful for the 65 mil, but I just, from an Arsenal perspective, I've got no idea what the point of that signing
Sorry,
was.
did you say thank you for the 65 mil?
Yeah.
Like it's a fiver. Like, yeah, thanks for the 65 million. Yeah, cheers for that. Wow.
But then the big thing for me is though, mate, I look at it, Savva, and like, I'm sorry, you do not win a Premier League title with Gabriel Jesus and Eddie Nketiah as your centre forwards. It just doesn't happen. It is not good enough. It's as simple as that. It simply isn't good enough. And look, whilst I think Arsenal improved their first 11 with signings like Declan Rice coming in and whatnot, their first 11's improved. I'm not sure how much the actual squad's improved. Yes, you've got options like Trossard off the bench, but where's your replacement for Saka? You know, where's your sort of depth for Martinelli? Yes, Trossard comes in a decent player, but for me, mentality, not good enough centre forward options.
Charlie, would you say it's funny because it's the same Arsenal fans that say, "Oh, but Saka's tired," right?
But then
they're telling me they've got the depth to win it. Then why are you moaning about Bukayo Saka being tired? Surely you rotate him out for someone.
Exactly, but they haven't got the squad to do it. That's my point. The option's not there. The option is not there. So, like, when Arsenal fans get a little bit like touchy about their team, is like, I'm sorry, as I said, centre forward's not good enough to win you the league, and you're moaning about Bukayo Saka being tired, but you play him. Arteta plays him every single game. And there's not a suitable replacement for him. So for me, as I said, mentality and the fact that the centre forward options are not good enough to win the league is why Arsenal won't do it.
I think.
Go on.
No. Go mate. You go.
I was going to say I agree with Charlie on that. Like, I had a different mentality about Arsenal at the beginning of the season. I saw when they were beating teams like Palace and kind of grinding out results away from home. I thought, actually, we're seeing a bit of steel about them, that they're grinding out results when they're not playing well. And that's always been kind of the question mark on Arsenal is, can they do that? Do they, it's been expected that they always have to play this quality football in order to win matches. And I saw something different. I thought, if they can turn that around and have those moments where they grind and then they play the good football in and around the season, they could actually maintain this over the course of the season. But they've not played great football all season now, and we're now fast approaching December. And so certainly in the last couple of weeks, and in particular when we played them at St. James's Park, there was a lot of things that went through my mind. Obviously, I was buzzing that we won the game, and in my opinion, we deserved to. But looking at some of their players, Saka, non-existent. Martinelli, non-existent. Nketiah, I said it on our preview show on Loaded Mag NFC, with Potts, because he came on and joined us. I said, as soon as they said that Nketiah may well be starting the game, we had Lascelles. We've not even had Botman for the last 6 weeks. And I was like, Lascelles and Shaw, they've got that locked down. And like, he did nothing in that game. And I was confident in that. And like, that shouldn't be. That's don't start, Mo. Don't start. Right? You'll hear the recordings at some point this evening, and it'll prove everything. But going back to the point, like, I'm looking at those players, and I should be worried about those players coming to St. James's Park and making a difference. And they did nothing. Declan Rice, sensational. Saliba, sensational. But you can't win a league on 2 players. You need a team to perform. And that's the thing that's changed my mentality from the start of the season to now. And actually, I do fear for Arsenal, because it doesn't look like that their form or their quality of football is going to change. Yeah, they can dispatch Burnley, they can dispatch Sheffield United. You expect that? Like, that doesn't surprise me.
But they're not losing. I mean, other than losing to you though, Pete. As much as I'd love to sit here and cuss Arsenal for fun, being a Spurs fan, they're not losing game. I mean, they lost to you, but they've lost 1 game in 12. But why are we discounting them?
The thing that I'll say with that, and the reason why I'm changing my mind on that, is because you cannot continue to play this way and grind out results over the course of the season. It's going to catch up with you. And this is why I always thought that by October time, if they start pulling in these fantastic performances and this quality football, then I can see them kicking on. But they haven't done that. And like I said, we're near December now. At some point, those grinding out results, just getting enough or doing enough to win a game, isn't going to continue. You're going to get found out, and the games are going to get harder, and they're going to get tougher. They're going to get more compact. You're looking in December now. There's a lot of games in December, and you've got the Christmas period. It's going to become demanding. And at that point, I do think that Arsenal may well drop points, and I just don't see Liverpool or Man City dropping the same amount of points, which is why I said like earlier on that I do think at some point by the time we get to the end of this calendar year, I can see Man City and Liverpool being ahead of everybody else comfortably.
Agree.
I mean,
I look at this Arsenal side and I see a side that when it's going well for them, it's fine. I don't think they've addressed the mentality problem, and I think Declan Rice, as good a player as he is, does not fix that because he doesn't provide the mentality that you want unless you want to win the Conference League. He's not this serial winner who's going to, teach all the youngsters in that squad what it's like to win and how to deal with the pressure. Right. He's not. You've got a couple of players for that, but it's not enough. I then look at tactically, and I saw it especially in the Newcastle game, but even I've seen it in other games this year, but they found ways. When the going gets tough for Arsenal, they just revert to a system of give the ball to Martinelli or Saka and hope they can take on 3 people. And if they can't take on 3 people, the attack dies. The attack dies at that present moment in time because we can't do any more. Mm-hmm. Ben White isn't doing what he used to do. Zinchenko's been in and out the side with injuries or whatever, so then Tommy has to come in, and he's nowhere near what Zinchenko does. Losing Thomas Partey means that they're not playing through the lines as well, which therefore means Odegaard's and getting involved. But then I'd say, if Thomas Partey is injury prone, he's going to get an injury. Why have you not bought someone in who can do that role? Right. So then I look at it and go, Newcastle didn't do anything exceptional. Newcastle basically went, come at us, because you'll expose yourself. And all that ended up happening was Tino Livramento went one-on-one with Martinelli. Trippier and Joe Linton doubled up on Saka. And Arsenal got no joy because the moment it went out wide, the attack died. They get it back in the middle. It'd be 30 seconds of meaningless possession between the centre-back and the DM, which doesn't progress anywhere, allows the team to get back into shape, which is exactly what they want. Newcastle basically went, we'll double up on Martinelli, we'll double up on Saka, and we'll leave Lascelles alone on Nketiah, and we'll be fine. Yeah. And what happened? They doubled up. They left Nketiah one-on-one with Lascelles, which any Premier League striker, take this in the right way, please. Any Premier League striker at the top level should be able to do Lascelles one-on-one at this point in time. Yeah. And Nketiah got bullied for 90 minutes.
One shot on target all game.
Yeah, I think. Do you know what? I think the bit that we've all kind of glossed or missed it and stuff. I think this is an Arsenal team now that I agree. I agree with most of you guys here. We said the squad depth is going to be key, but do you know what the most thing? They're now in the Champions League, and now you can't go, when you're in the Champions League, you can't go and play your squad players like you would do in the Europa League. That they would play a weakened side. You've got to go, and the further they go into the Champions League, the more risk of injury, the more risk of fatigue. And when you get to the latter stages of the season, players may not be able to play it. By the way, I say it from experience. I saw it with Tottenham when we were in the Champions League, and I saw us fatigue in the league under Pochettino. Heck, I saw it under Conte. And I saw a team of players, and this is the thing here with Arsenal, is great when you're winning, but I think the key bit here is it goes, if it goes wrong, have they got the mentality to pick themselves up? Because we saw all last year, when the chips are down with Arsenal, heads drop. And we saw that at the end of the season.
I also think with Arsenal, one thing that I think is being very much overlooked are, 2 things. Number one, their goalkeeping situation in comparison to last season is not the same. Ramsdale had the season of his life last season. And when you look at how Raya's performing, he's been very dodgy. Going back to that goalkeeping talk we said about Chelsea. The second thing is, now listen, Arsenal fans, I'm not talking about necessarily just ability. I'm talking mentality here. They never replaced Granit Xhaka's mentality. They never replaced that. I also think because that guy bailed them out of a lot last season and people tend to forget that. I also think that it was also very key that they replaced him with a player with at least that like-mindedness. Now, a lot of you will say Declan Rice, but for me, in terms of his aggression and his ability to just draw that team together, he'll get there. It's his debut season. It's his first season. But I just don't think it's quite as effective as it was with Granit Xhaka. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? It sounds so strange because Liverpool have only lost 1 game of football this season fair enough. They shouldn't have lost it, but they've only lost one. Arsenal have lost one. And I'm already ruling them out of title races. But hey, listen, we'll see how it goes. Let's talk about somebody that I think all of us on this panel can agree that this is a very funny topic indeed. This guy, Ten Hag. I don't know what you guys make of this, right? I've asked the question, will he be sacked before the end of the season? It just feels to me that every time he's about to be pushed, they sort of scrape a win against a really, really crap team, right? Get another 3 points, and then they're all right for a bit. They beat another rubbish team, and oh my God, we've won 2 in a row. Then they play someone decent and lose, and the fans will want them out or want him out. Where are we all at with Ten Hag? Because this is a really disgustingly bad Man U to watch, isn't it?
I just need him to last another 1 month and 3 days. That's all I need. But beyond that point, I do not really care what happens with Erik Ten Hag in the future. Just get to December 17th, please. Let us have that moment.
Let me guess. Is that Liverpool versus Man United by any chance?
It's Liverpool versus Man United at Anfield.
First. We'll get to December 6th at Chelsea at Old Trafford, and then anything after that, you can go.
Hang on. So everyone wants to play Man U one more time, and then Ten Hag can be.
I was going to say from December the 3rd onwards, that's fine. December the 3rd, new manager for Chelsea. That's absolutely fine at that point. New manager for Chelsea.
I mean, can he just stay in charge until the 14th of January then?
Hang on. I'm trying to get him sacked here, and you're all giving him the job. Goonie, let me start with you. What I don't want to do is I don't want to be one of these people who just says, but it's Man U, because I think that Man U that I grew up with for 2 decades has gone. But for the amount of money spent, for how long their manager has been there, this team looks like a team that has just been taken over by a manager in the last month. They look dreadful. Like they're back to the days of Evans, Maguire, Lindelof, McTominay. They've got nothing seemingly going forward. What on earth? What is he doing? What's their plan, Goonie?
I think it's a mixture of several things, and I've said consistently before that I think the manager has lost a portion, the whole dressing room, or at least a portion of the dressing room, because some of the performances are just unacceptable completely. But also on top of that, the manager is shooting himself in the foot. I mean, for example, can you name me a tangible excuse as to why you're going to start Johnny Evans over a 5-time Champions League winner if he's not injured? Please, somebody tell me why, because I can't think of the reason. These are the things. These are the things that he's got to answer. Do you know what I mean? And then on top of that, he's made so many signings, you know, the Ajax way of football, but yet he's not playing these players. It doesn't make no sense. So it just gives out the message that are you accepting that you've made the mistake in signing some of these players, or are you just trying to abandon your philosophy altogether? Either way, it's not good. It's not good. And then, you know, the board as well. I don't think the board has helped him out, you know, in terms of handing out some of these contracts to certain players, because now with a player like Marcus Rashford, right, that's a sensitive subject of Manchester United fans. With him, he's an underperformer. And I hear this I'm taking Manchester United fans' word for this. He's been very much underperforming, but yet he cannot be dropped. He's a Teflon Don in the team. These things, you can't do that. It should be a meritocracy. You play based on form. If you're not playing well for a consistent run of games and someone's playing better than you, you have to sit down on the bench, and you just got to have to hold that, unfortunately, until your performance get to the standard.
Let me play devil's advocate here. Not that I care about Rashford. Who starts instead of him? Because I look at Man United, even with Rashford, I don't know what they've got going forward, because I think Garnacho, Pellistri, Anthony, these are all very ineffective football. Right? Well, Charlie was not as polite as I was, but yeah, they're all crap. So who do they play, Goonie?
It's a good question, but you know, it's again like if a player's not performing and consistently making the wrong decisions, right? Yep. Sometimes you've got to make an example of them and say, listen, I know this guy is not as talented as you, but like, let's say, I don't know who occupies that position. Garnacho. Let's start Garnacho. Let's play him for a couple of games and see where that goes. If it doesn't work, then boy, I don't know. Like it's a tricky one, but then again, it comes down to recruitment. It comes down to the manager. Well, if you knew that Rashford has this in his capacity for him to be this inconsistent, why didn't you sign somebody that is going to continually compete with this guy? Do you know what I mean? It's a Manchester City situation where they know that if the players know if this player doesn't perform, this one can step into the team and I can be kept out of the squad for several weeks, potentially even as long as this guy is able to continue to play. So Manchester United, again, is their error. Their recruitment's not been good enough.
You know what's brilliant about Man United's recruitment? Every single window, they go into it needing a centre-back, a DM, and a right winger. They buy a centre-back, a DM, and a right winger, and in the next summer they need a centre-back, a DM, and a right winger.
Right.
It's like a curse at United. They can't address it. The recruitment is woeful. That squad is so just disjointed. I mean, dropping Varane for Johnny Evans, it sounds madness, but Johnny Evans has been better than Varane this season, and that is a bigger knock on Raphael Varane. Varane got the game against Copenhagen and cost them the game. It's a concern at Old Trafford just how quickly the wheels have fell off after what was, the jubilation that last year. Era's come to an end. We've got a Carabao Cup now. United are back. This, that, and the other.
We're going to kick on. Yeah.
Oh,
I think
it just looks awful.
Yeah, I'll just sort of touch on that. I think you're right. I have you right there, but do you know what? I think the thing is the one thing I will is the manager hasn't helped himself in this part, because the one thing I'll look at the whole situation with Jadon Sancho. Now, I don't know what's happened behind the scenes. We'll never know. We'll never know the full extent of it. However, when you're not winning games of football and you've got a winger sat at home, not turning up because he's been banned from going to Carrington, it makes the questions. You're starting Johnny Evans over Varane, whether or not you're going to make those decisions. That's absolutely fine. But if it goes wrong, which it is going wrong, you're going to be left with those question marks on what's going on. Because here they sack him and they bring in insert manager, and then that insert manager brings Sancho back in the team, and he becomes their best player in the second half of the season. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that happens, but hypothetically, who was the problem here? The manager's making out the play is the problem, but was it the manager's fault? We will never know. This is a hypothetical, but when you make big calls like that, if you're top of the league winning games of football, it doesn't matter if you make big calls. But when you're not winning games, those calls start getting questioned.
So Perchy TV is asking...
If you Pep Guardiola with Cancelo last year and it works, you're a genius. If you're Ten Hag and you're making Jadon Sancho have to walk across Carrington to get his lunch in a paper bag because he's not allowed to sit in the canteen, and your wingers are so bad that Jermaine Genius is sitting there on lunchtime telly going, I'd be booing Anthony myself. You start to question whether you should.
That's what I mean, exactly.
Maybe just go, you know what, Sancho, we'll put this to the side for now. And get you back in the side, because I can't keep doing what I'm doing.
Let me ask Pete. Sorry, I want to bring you in, Pete, but just quickly before I do, guys and girls, let's not be slack. Come on, the likes. We're really slacking on the likes. We've got kind of Rashford conversion rates on the likes at the moment. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Perchy and I are fast approaching the 12K buffer. I don't know why I said the word buffer. We're fast approaching the 12K marker. And it would be really grateful if you could please smash that subscribe button. And big up to Martin Knightsbridge, who was on our show earlier and said, big up, lads. Great panel. Good luck. Thank you very much. We really appreciate that. Thank you, Martin. Pete. The thing is, when you look at Man U, you look at Ten Hag and think of the Ajax team, like the Ajax team that played Spurs in the Champions League semi-final. That, let's be fair, if it wasn't for some mad hat-trick heroics, they were all over us. They were brilliant. And Man United fans would have been thinking they're getting that. Back in the days when they had Donny van der Beek, Frankie de Jong, Hakim Ziyech, and they were free-flowing, pressing. He hasn't given any of that to this Man United team, has he? I just don't know what their tactics are.
And this is the interesting thing, and this is the thing I was going to bring in anyway, Savva. So you're absolutely spot on, is that this is the biggest question mark about Ten Hag's tenure at Man United so far, because I genuinely thought when Ten Hag came in that it wasn't about buying superstar players or managing superstar players. It was about coaching players to be better. Now, can you honestly, anyone on the panel or anyone in the chat, can anyone honestly tell me a player that he's made better?
Not a single one.
None of them. None
of them. They've literally come in. Casemiro came in as the best DM in the world at that point. There were players that have taken over that since, the likes of Rodri and a couple of others that are out playing him now. But he came in off the back of his kind of exploits at Real Madrid and was arguably the best defensive midfielder in the world. And they paid 60 million to get him in. Yeah. And he sprinkled his magic dust for the first half of the season, the first 6 months or so of the season. And he was the difference maker, and he was making the difference. But what he's done is what every other player's done since they've come into the club, and the existing players that were at Man United. Garnacho's another example. He came in and hit the ground running, and you looked at him and thought, he's the future. And talked to Man United fans, they said exactly the same. He's the future. He's regressed. Every single one of them have now got to their maximum level that they were at when Erik ten Hag took them under his wing, and they've all gone down. And that's the biggest surprise for me, because as you said, Savin, you were absolutely right in what you said. You watched that Ajax team. You could tell they had an identity. You could tell they had a fluidity in their play. You could tell they were playing with confidence. You could tell, more importantly, that they were being coached. That team doesn't look like they're being coached right now. And it goes back to the point that Tom said and what Perchy said with regards to when you were talking about the likes of Varane. Varane doesn't want to be at Man United. That's why he's not playing.
And you can see his body language. Yeah, it's
he don't want to play. People are shocked. People are shocked why he's not in the team. Why is he not starting? Why is he not playing? He don't want to be there. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Man United go and get another centre back in January and he goes off to Saudi to get out of Man United, because he don't want to be there. And you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if Casemiro's out there with him or trying to force a move. Those guys have gone into Man United and now realised, actually, this ain't what I signed up for. This is not the team, the club.
They've not built around it.
They haven't built around it. They're regressing on the back of that, and now they're like, I want out. And you can tell. And I'm an outsider. I'm not even a fan of the club, but I speak to Man United fans, season ticket holders that go week in, week out, and they watch those players, and they're saying, like, he's not playing for the shirt. And it's deadly obvious. And why do you think Sancho is refusing to apologise to get back into that team? Who would? Why would he? If Man United winning games week in and week out, and they were fighting in the top 2 or 3, like your Man Cities, your Arsenals, and Liverpools, it'd have already apologised by now and be back in the training. It'd have been training 2 weeks ago. But the fact that he knows that that they're kind of just drifting right now, and eventually they'll end up dropping. He ain't trying to get back in there.
Sancho is still the last attacker for United to score a Premier League goal at Old Trafford. He hasn't played. He didn't play for much. Also, so I'm just going to say quickly on United, like, this is not a new thing this season. Since the Carabao Cup final last year, the football's been horrendous there. This is not something new.
Is that actually a true? Is that a fact?
Yeah.
He's the last attacking player. No, that's
mental. Score a Premier League goal at Old Trafford, I
was going to say it makes sense, though.
But there's so many problems at United. You look at it, right, and you think, okay, the attack this season combined have scored 1 Premier League goal, and that's Rashford. None of the attackers have scored at Old Trafford. Højlund is like, it's doing well in the Champions League, but I think they've done him a disservice a little bit by not bringing in another senior striker to help complement him. But then also you look at it and you're like, where's the idea? The recruitment doesn't make any sense. You go and spend 60 million on Mason Mount. Like, I'm not defending the Glazers here, but let's not say that Ten Hag wasn't given what he wanted. He wanted Mason Mount. He wanted Rasmus Højlund. He wanted Onana. He wanted Amrabat. Like, he wanted all these players, and yet he can't make. He's not able to make any of it work. And look, yes, they're getting results. Yes, they've won 4 of their last 5 in the league. The football, as we were saying, as Pete was saying with Arsenal, like obviously the Arsenal football's better, but the United football is horrendous. You cannot keep getting away with playing like that and scraping results, because eventually it catches up with you. I just look at it. There's no tactics. There's no identity of play. There's no one looks like a team. It's just 11 individuals chucked on the pitch. It's just like go and see what you can do. And ultimately, it's going to fall on him to try and make something, try and sort something out. But whatever he's doing is not working at all, and he doesn't look like getting anything out of these players at all.
Well, look, we've got 10 minutes left. So for the last 10 minutes, I'm going to bring up a subject which will either people will really like or they'll really hate, but we'll go for it anyway. Before I do, big up to 7_SC, always a big supporter of the channel. So big up Sav in the panel. Big up to you as well. The Sanctuary of 7. I love that. Something about the number 7 this man loves. But listen, brilliant. Thank you very much for your support. Please keep subscribing. We've had 3 or 4 since I last asked. We get another 5 or 6 for the end of the show. That would be absolutely lovely. And I want to ask this for the last few minutes or so. Now, if I brought this up with just my Spurs watchers and just my Spurs panel, I'd get absolutely crucified. But I feel it's only fair that, you know, it's the sort of thing I've been talking about Arsenal and Liverpool and Newcastle, Chelsea. You guys get to talk about Spurs as well. Let me start, Perchy. I'm going to come to you last. Sorry, but because obviously you're a Spurs fan.
Absolutely fine.
Start with anyone else. Guys, Tottenham, 10 games. We'd won 8. We'd drawn 2. Lots of Spurs fans getting a bit excited, talking about titles, talking about Ange Ball. We're going to talk about that as well. Where do you guys see it now? We just lost 2 on the bounce. We lost to Chelsea. I thought we were easily beaten by Wolves, who peppered our goal. We've now got Villa at home, followed by Wolves. Followed by Man City away. What do you all make of Tottenham? What do you guys make of Tottenham, and what do you make of Ange Ball?
I think it's quite good. I quite enjoy it. I just feel that this is ultimately what happens when a rebuilding team. It's what happens to every rebuilding team. Sometimes you get just the look of the draw, and for you, your best players this season have been your new signs, and now they're out until the new year. I still, the questions have to be asked about the defence, because the fact you're going to be going to the Etihad with a centre-back partnership of Dyer and Romero does not fill anyone with any ounce of confidence.
Sorry, Dyer and Romero. Do you mean Dyer and Davis?
Romero should be. Oh no, he won't.
Romero's suspended.
It's still going, isn't it? Sorry, it's dodgy. Who's back? No. Also, Dyer and Davies at the Etihad. It's just these little things. Like, I quite like the way he's play. Contrary to what many people will say, I actually understood why he went balls for the walls against Chelsea. And for 20 minutes it worked, because Chelsea's players could not figure out how to be an offside trap. It was just maybe he should have been a little bit faster on changing it or whatever. But I understand why he did it. It's a very hard situation to be in at that point. I like the way he's played, but ultimately your squad's not good enough to sustain where you were. And that's going to show through. Now, are you going to get top 4? Depends about the luck in the second half of the season with injuries, because I don't back your club to spend in January to address it. I think you might buy 1, but you won't buy enough. So you're going to need the look of the draw in terms of the fitness of a Maddison or a Van der Ven in the second half of the season to really see you through. But should you get that, I don't see why you can't be there, because you've got the right style. It's just everything sort of what we all said at some point this season, someone's going to get injured and someone's going to get injured and someone's going to get suspended. And it all happened in one foul swoop for you, which couldn't have been much worse luck. But it then would you'd hope logically you'll get the look in the second half of the season when you've won it. So I think he's all right. I think it's just top 4 might be a bit of a push now, depending on the Christmas form.
Yeah, let me come to Goonie next, because I know, Goonie, if you can give me like 30 seconds, I know you've got to jump, and then we are ending the show in 5 minutes anyway. But Goonie, Spurs, are they all that? Are they as good as Tom says? Are we playing good football?
Well, yeah, you've obviously started off really well, to be completely honest with you. This notion of whether you've fallen off and you're going to do the Spursy thing, I don't like to speak too soon. It's going to be difficult for you considering the players that you've got out and the periods of time that they are out, because I'm hearing Madders is going to be potentially out for 3 months, similar with Van der Ven. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you know what I mean? And those 2 players for me are your key players. So this is where Ange Postecoglou is going to have to show his skill at management, man management, team management, see how he does from here. And for me, it's very much of an unknown element. So it's too early for me to speak, because you might go on and still pick up performances until those players come back. You might still pick up the points, and then it's a completely different conversation. But because I don't know Ange Postecoglou like that, outside of these 8 games, 9 games that Tottenham have played or whatever, or however many games that you've played, it's hard for me to say. I don't really like to speak too soon until I've seen a little bit more.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Listen, thanks so much for coming on. And I know you've got to go and pick up the kids. So listen, we'll catch you really, really soon.
Yeah, man. Everyone's pick up the chat as well, man. Peace out. Southgate out.
Thanks. He loves it.
I love that.
Pete, Spurs. I mean, we are currently, if we look at it from a Newcastle perspective, we're currently 6 points above Newcastle. How good are we? Are we that much better than you? Do you think that we'll be kind of neck and neck come the end of the season, or what's your situation on this?
Yeah, no, I think we will be neck and neck. I think it will be closer than 6 points in the end of the season. I think when we get some players back, I think we'll show our form. Like, to be fair, it's crazy because in the form table we're actually second. I know we lost the Bournemouth. It was a horrible result and a lot of factors in and around it. We're actually second in the form table, so like we've been doing all right ourselves. And I think once we get our players back, I think we will kick on. But I think from a Tottenham perspective, I've really enjoyed the football that you've played this season. I think you played some fantastic football. But the one thing, I mean, you got James Maddison. I bigged him up for a year, hoping that he was going to sign for us. He was linked with us all the way through, and then we went in a different direction. You boys took him, and he's proven how good of a player he is in a better team than Leicester City. So you got some top players, that's for sure. But the one thing I did say about Tottenham is what would happen if you pick up injuries to Maddison and some of your other top players. Maddison doesn't always stay fit in a season. He always has 1 or 2 injuries in a season that puts him out for a period of time. Leicester suffered that last season when he was out. He was out for 6-7 weeks at a time, and it really costed them. And I was always asking that question. Now, really unlucky the fact that you lose Maddison and Van de Ven in the same game. Like they're your two, or arguably 2 of your best players. And this is the thing, and it's part of your building strategy. You're waiting almost to get to that next stage where you can buy those players that can supplement these quality players that you've already got. And it is kind of, you are building again, and you'll get there. There's no doubt about it. But for this season, I do think it may well be. It's all been plain sailing at the moment, but I think there will be an up and down moment. I think, because of injuries, because of form, and for whatever reason, you will maybe be up and down a little bit, which may pull you a little bit short of that. Well, it will pull you short of that title tilt. But you guys will be in and around that top 4-5 conversation, whatever it may be for Champions League. You'll be in that conversation for Champions League. There's no doubt about it. And I think ourselves, I think Aston Villa, Chelsea, if Chelsea are in that kind of trajectory, if they continue that, I think they're really sort of the 4 teams that are in that conversation. I'm putting Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool aside here when I'm talking about the other spaces. And yeah, fair play to Ange. The only question I've got about him as a manager is, has he got a plan B? Has he got that alternative? Because I tell you what, the tactics that he put together to try and stop Chelsea with that high line, just you were like, you were throwing lambs to the slaughter. Like, you were always going to lose that game. And even when watching it and you were winning, you were always going to lose that game. Like, it reminded me, Aston Villa did something very, very similar to us when we played against some pre-season in the States. And they did exactly the same to us when we played them at St. James's Park first game of the season. And we smashed them 5-1, and we were just hitting them every time because we're playing this high line. And it reminded me of that. And I said to my mates watching it, I was like, Chelsea are going to win it comfortably, even when they weren't winning, because at some point
it was going to work.
They were going to break it. And like Cucurella making a run 5-10 yards back and making that run for that ball, it was always on. And that's where Ange needs to change. He needs to have another option. And someone put it in the chat, and there's a really good point about the Etihad. I think you go to the Etihad next, am I right?
We got Villa at home, and then Man City away.
So like those games, both of those games, how you navigate those games is going to show, whether Ange has got that alternative about him. Like, and that's the interesting thing to see over the next 5-10 games.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I'll come to Charlie, then we'll end it with Perchy. By the way, keep smashing the likes. We should be getting up towards 175 likes at least now. Charlie, Daniel, who is a Spurs fan, big up Daniel, who's always in our comments, has said Spurs just aren't as good as some fans think. Ridden our luck, thin squad, very much in the infancy. We haven't played well. Long road ahead. Charlie, as an outsider, in terms of not being a Spurs fan, do you agree with Daniel?
I agree with the majority of that, apart from the point where he says you haven't played well. I think Spurs have played well in a lot of games this season. So I've spoken to you a lot over the summer, and it's the same problem for me of Tottenham, right? And it's the same problem with other sides as well. You've got a good first 11, but you cannot rely on a first 11 for a whole season. And
sure.
And that's what Tottenham are finding out now, is that you get a few injuries. Yes, it's unlucky. It's unlucky that two of your best players go down in the same game and they're out for 3+ months or whatever. But you look at it and you're like, right, okay. Yes, he was backed to a degree in the summer, but you should have got more. As you said many times, you were one injury or one suspension away from Eric Dyer playing at centre back. Not good enough. Yeah. And then you look at the kind of the squad depth is not there. As soon as you've got injuries, you're relying on the same guys that have let Tottenham down year after year after year. And now you've got to try and get something out of these players to get you a result. I feel that Spurs have they've swapped being reliant on Harry Kane, and they're now massively reliant on James Maddison instead. So I look, do I feel they're more of a team? Potentially, but you still haven't, I know it's the infancy still, but for me, on the evidence so far, you still haven't moved away from being reliant on one player to massively make your team tick. And right now, you're heavily reliant on James Maddison. And there doesn't seem to be an alternative plan to get something out of the team without him. So that would be my thing with Ange, is that, right, okay, you've got no Maddison now. Yes, you've done well with him. What plan B have you got to try and replicate or find a different way of getting what James Maddison gives you, or close to what he can give you? Because right now, Tottenham don't really have a plan B. As I said, you're relying on the same players that have let the club down, and you need to be backed in January. You need another centre-back. You need a midfield player, and you probably need maybe a centre forward as well, potentially, or another attacker. And how many times do we say that about Spurs? Every window, you need those things, and it's the same conversations every single window. So I think you've got a great manager, you've got a good infrastructure, you've got a good first 11, but you need the squad depth, because no team is going to do anything with no squad depth.
No, listen, I completely agree. And Perchy, I'll come to finish it off. I mean, look, we went through this the other day. They put up the stats on the screen the other day of Tottenham with James Maddison for games this season and without. I mean, minutes, because he's come off in quite a lot of games. And it was frightening, wasn't it? The stats of when he's on the pitch versus when he's not on the pitch. The lack of shots, the lack of chances created, the lack of touches in the opponent's penalty box. Everything just significantly drops when James Maddison is not in that team. It's a huge problem.
It is a massive problem. And Charlie made a great point. He mentioned that we had one player that we relied on massively, and now we've just got in another one that we rely on massively. Ironically, they both wore the number 10 shirt. It's like you have to wear that shirt to be the main star at Tottenham at the moment. But you're right. This is the problem. Like I say it all the time. We don't do much unless James Maddison is dictating it, and it does worry me. And I think this is why when everyone was saying about injuries, and Spurs fans come to me and say, "Oh, Van der Ven's a bigger injury worry." The drop off with Maddison is like that, really. With whatever player you replace him with, it doesn't matter really, because the quality's not. There's no quality. James Maddison makes us tick, and I'm really worried. It was nice of Pete to say that we were the high line we were going to lose, because when I said it, I got absolutely castrated when I said about the high line. It was like someone else. You don't get absolutely butchered for saying that, Pete, being a Newcastle fan. But I thought the same. I thought it was crazy. But listen, I think for me at the moment, it is our season really restarts when Maddison's back. It sounds all doom and gloom, but I look at Villa and I go, quality they've got there. I look at bye Tom. I look at the quality of Maddison and just go, we don't really tick over him. Villa looks strong. City are going to be strong. We then got to go to them. Then you lose those 2 games of football. What's going on here?
Right, sorry, keep going. Leave it to me.
Oh,
Let's go.
okay. Yeah, you lose those games of football. You lose 4. That's 4 games you lose. We've on the 4 on the bounce you lost. Then the West Ham at home becomes enormous. Then it's Newcastle. Now that you get to the end of that game, and if you've not won one of those out of the 6 games there from Chelsea to Newcastle, it kind of unravels everything about the good start we had, right?
You got a couple of nations as well.
That for me is the worrying thing.
You got Sarr and Basuma off to the African Cup of Nations in January as well. So what happens? 2/3 of the midfield gone as well. So there's a lot of things that need sorting.
And Son is going to play in the Asian Cup. Yeah, it's madness.
Mad.
It's madness. Look, guys, we will leave it there. Listen, thank you very much. First of all, thank you, Pete and Charlie. Thank you so much for being with us for our first show of Rivals React. Big up to Goonie as well. Big up to Tom Little and his sexy haircut. Please go and subscribe to these people as well. The links are in the chat. The links are in the bio of the show. Go and subscribe to @BlueBrother CFC for Charlie. And also go and subscribe to @LoadedMag NUFC for Pete. Great content creators. Please help everybody out and subscribe to this channel as well. We will be back the same time next week for another show. Looking forward to that weekend's game. And other than that, thank you very much to everyone. Please like, please subscribe. And as always, come on, you Spurs.